According to Steele et al. In 2017, successful business is all about creating, communicating, and delivering superior values to the customers. In this presentation, we will be discussing 4 important topics that are essential in understanding the concepts of logistics and distribution.
I am Sheena Yvette Balcoba, and my topic will be the key issues and challenges for logistics and supply chain. In this chapter, many issues are raised and discussed with the aim of highlighting the most important challenges that need to be addressed by logistics and supply chain professionals. In recent years, there have been very significant developments in the structure, organization, and operation of logistics, notably in the interpretation of logistics within the broader supply chain. Major changes have included the increase in customer service expectations, the concept of compressing time within the supply chain, the globalization of industry in terms of both global brands and global markets, and the integration of organizational structures. These different issues are introduced with regard to their key influence at various points along the supply chain. The broad categorizations are the external environment, the manufacturing supply, logistics and distribution, retailing, and the consumers. These 5 issues will be discussed later on as we go along with our discussions. The first category that is considered is the external environment. What is the external environment? It refers to the outside influences and factors that affect business operations. The business environment factors include competitive, political, technological, and economic factors. The factors affect the business owner's decision and have particular characteristics. Manufacturing and supply comprises all the processes a business uses to turn raw materials into final products that are ready to be sold to customers. Within the context of raw material sourcing and production, this include new manufacturing technology, which can accommodate more complex production requirements and more product variations. New supplier relationships within the emphasis on single sourcing and lean supply, thus enabling suppliers and buyers to work more closely together. Focus factories with a concentration on fewer sources but necessitating longer transport journeys. Global sourcing, emphasizing the move away from local or national sources. Postponement, where the final configuration of a product is delayed to enable reduced stockholding of finished goods in the supply chain. Co-makership, the development of partnership between supplier and buyer to help take costs out of the supply chain through quality and information improvements. This represents a positive move away from the more traditional adversarial relationship that has been common between buyers and suppliers. And the last one is the co-location, the joint physical location of supplier operations on or next to customer production sites.
Logistics and distribution.
There are numbers of different ways in which fourth-party logistics may be able to solve some of the main problems that users of third-party logistics companies have experienced. Aftermarket or service parts logistics is now recognized as an important aspect for many businesses, particularly high-technology ones. It is based on ensuring the rapid fulfillment of post-sales high-value or critical parts in support of customers worldwide. These services included parts logistics, returns management, field technical support, field stocking network, usually enabling between 1 to 4 hour response times, central distribution centers, parts planning, asset recovery, recycling management, depot, and field repairs. Finally, within the ages of distribution, one distinctive feature of recent years has been a concentration on improving asset utilization. Retailing. Retailing is the selling of goods and services to consumers and users. One of the most far-reaching implications has been that of inventory reduction within the retail supply chain, which has evolved from a combination of different policies. These policies included the maximization of retail selling space, a reduction in DC stockholding, a reduction in the number of stockholding DCs, GIT philosophies and concepts, vendor-managed inventory policies. Finally, many retail operations have also adopted policies to streamline the activities within the real environment through the activities back into DC. The key topic of customer service re-emphasized that his continues to increase in importance and to have a major impact on logistics, such that the logistic function has become the key element in customer service strategy. This includes the development of customer-facing organizations and operations, a move towards service policies based on market segmentation, JIT and quick response system requiring markedly more frequent and reliable delivery, brand image becoming less strong, the dominant differentiator being availability.
Lastly, the consumer.
One very recent example of the increasing importance of customer service has been the move to develop an alternative approach to the supply chain by creating what is called demand chain management. Here, the intention is to move the emphasis away from the supply chain of products and towards the demand for products, to reflect the importance of what the customer requires rather than what the supplier wants to provide. Ultimately, this is linking the two concepts of supply chain management with customer relationship management, or linking logistics directly with marketing.
Hello everyone, I'm Jeremiah, and now I'm going to discuss the next topic, planning framework for logistics. A generalized approach to corporate strategic planning is outlined, and this is linked to a specific logistics design strategy. The main elements of this design strategy are described, and some of the fundamental influences on logistics network planning and design are detailed. In particular, product characteristics, the product life cycle, packaging, and unit loads. Pressures for change. Many organizations have adopted a piecemeal and incomplete approach to their strategic planning. One of the reasons for this incomplete approach is the pressure for change exerted on companies from a wide variety of sources. The danger for any organization is to overreact to this need for change. Thus, a measured response is required that enables distribution and logistics systems and structures to be developed as a whole in the context of company strategic plans. Now, let's move to strategic planning overview. This, in many ways, a classic strategic planning approach, but one important point is that it does clearly identify the logistics function as a key part of strategic planning. The initial phase of a strategic study should incorporate a review of the external environment with which a company operates. This includes such factors as the economic climate, current regulations and potential regulatory changes, and any relevant technological developments. In addition to a company's corporate or business strategy, the other element that is crucial is the competitive strategy that the company plans to adopt. Competitive strategy has a major influence on the development of logistics strategy and in the way the physical structure of the operation may be configured. There are a number of important factors, but the key ones includes the extent of globalization, the type of competitive positioning adopted, and the degree to which the supply chain is an integrated one. A company should adopt a competitive strategy by competing as a service or cost leader, or where relevant as both of this. A service leader is a company that is trying to gain an advantage over its competitors by providing a number of key added value service elements that differentiate it from its competitors in terms of what it's offering to its customers. A cost leader is a company that is trying to utilize its resources by offering the product at the lowest possible cost, thus gaining a productivity advantage. Logistics design strategy. There are several important issues concerning the development of a suitable logistics strategy. The first is the need to link the logistics or distribution plan directly with the corporate plan. This is best achieved by ensuring that logistics is an integral part of the corporate plan and that factors related to these functions are used as inputs in the overall planning process. The second point concerns the extent or the coverage of logistics strategic plan. The third, and in many ways most important issue, is whether or not a company has a structured logistics plan at all. These are the designs of logistics processes, logistics information systems, and logistics organizational structure. Logistics process design is concerned with ensuring that business methods are aligned and organized so that they operate across the traditional company functions and become supply chain oriented. Logistics network design refers to the more traditional elements of logistics strategy. These include aspects related to the physical flow of the product through a company's operation, such as the manufacturing location from which a product should be sourced, the inventory that should be held, the number and location of depots, the use of stockless depots, and final product delivery. Logistics information system design should include all of those information-related factors that are vital to support the processes and the physical structure of the operation. Final design element is that of the logistics organizational structure. It is the experience of many companies that an inadequate organizational structure can lead to substantial problems. This includes issues such as sub-optimization, whereby functions tend to concentrate on their own operation in isolation from the rest of the company. Or even worse examples where different functions and their managers compete against one another and develop antagonistic attitudes, often styled as blame culture. Product characteristics. The physical characteristics of a product, any specific packaging requirements, and the type of unit load are all important factors in the trade-off with other elements of distribution when seeking least cost systems at given service levels. This potential for trade-off should continually be borne in mind. There are four main categories. Volume to weight ratio. Volume and weight characteristics are commonly associated, and their influence on logistics costs can be significant. A low ratio of volume to weight in a product such as sheet steel or books, etc., generally means an efficient utilization of the main components of distribution. Value to weight ratio. Product value is also important to the planning of a logistics strategy. High-value products are more able to absorb the associated distribution costs because the distribution element is a relatively low proportion of the overall product cost. Low-value products need to have an inexpensive distribution system because the cost is a large proportion of the overall product cost. And if too high, the effect on the total cost of the product might make it non-viable in terms of its price in the marketplace. Substitutability. The degree to which a product can be substituted by another will also affect the choice of distribution system. When customers readily substitute a product with a different brand or type of goods, then it is important that the distribution system is designed to avoid stockouts or to react to replenish stocks in a timely fashion. And high-risk products. The characteristics of some products presents a degree of risk associated with their distribution. Typical examples include perishability, fragility, hazard or danger, contamination of potential and extreme value. To minimize this risk, sometimes a legal obligation means that a special distribution system design must be used. The product life cycle. One marketing concept that concerns the product and is also very relevant to distribution and logistics is that of the product life cycle, or PLC. The principle behind the product life cycle is that of the stage development of a product. This starts with the introduction of the product into the market and follows, for successful products, with the steady growth of the product as it becomes established. The life cycle continues with the accelerated growth of the product as competitors introduce similar products at competitive prices, which stimulate total demand, and ends as the demand for the products runs into decline. It is important that the performance of a logistics operation is able to reflect and respond to the developing life cycle of a product. This can be differentiated as follows. Introductory stage. Here, this is usually a requirement for an operation that can provide high response to a demand with a logistics structure that gives stock availability and quick replenishment and can react to sudden demand increases. Growth stage. Here, sales are more predictable. The requirements for distribution are now for a better balance, more cost-effective system. Maturity stage. This is where the introduction of competitive products and substitutes are likely to increase price and service competition. And the decline stage. Here, the product is becoming obsolete. Packaging. In terms of the physical nature of a product, it is not generally presented to the logistics function in its primary form, but in the form of a package or as a unit load. The packaging of a product is broadly determined for product promotion and product protection, the latter being the function that is particularly pertinent to logistics. And unit loads. The idea of using a unit load for logistics was developed from the realization of the high costs involved in the storage and movement of products, particularly in the inefficient manual handling of many small packages. The result of this has been the unit load concept, where the use of a unit load enables goods and packages to be grouped together and then handled and moved more effectively using mechanical equipment.
I am Mariel Bañga, and I will be discussing the third topic, which is about logistics processes. In recent years, the focus has shifted towards a holistic view of logistics, focusing on trade-offs and ensuring cost effectiveness. This approach is now accepted in sound logistics planning, where individual elements can be sub-optimized for the overall operation. The supply chain perspective views logistics functions across internal company functions with the ultimate goal of achieving customer satisfaction. To achieve this, processes must span internal functions and company boundaries, providing the necessary type and level of customer service. However, many companies struggle to achieve this, leading to a lack of holistic logistics planning. Process problems can be identified as either functional process problems or cross-functional process problems. For functional process problems, processes are designed to enable individual functions within an organization to perform their roles, but they are not streamlined to act as a united whole, so an effective process should be seamless. Typical functional errors might be incorrect transcription of the original order requirements, incorrect notification of availability, incorrect selection or picking of the order, damage to the goods, late delivery, delivery to an incorrect address, and invoicing to the incorrect address. There might also be errors and delays associated with functional boundaries. These are identified as a cross-functional process problems. Examples might include order taking may be delayed because another function has to check stock availability, Stock may appear to be available but is actually pre-allocated to another customer. Order details may be incorrectly transcribed when moved from one information system to another. Credit control may delay the progress of the order but the customer may not be informed. Different goods may be picked because the original requirement is out of stock, so the next best is selected. Goods may not be delivered as part orders due to some product unavailability when partial delivery may be better than no delivery. And lastly, goods may be physically delivered via an incorrect channel to the customer's cost next day rather than a normal 3-day service.
To avoid problems such as these, some companies now seek to redesign their key logistics processes. Properly designed processes should be customer-facing. That is, they should aim specifically to satisfy customer demands and expectations. They should also be cross-functional, or indeed, where possible, they should be supply chain-oriented, in that they cross not just company functions, but also the boundary between companies. For most companies, the aim of achieving cross-functional processes is a big and sufficient challenge. Finally, they should be time-based, in that we need to reflect the importance of time as a key element in the logistics offer.
There are 2 logistic process types and categories: key logistics processes and process categorization. The typical examples of key logistics processes are as follows: order fulfillment, new product introduction, new product development, product returns, aftermarket or service parts logistics, and information management. There are other associated processes that could also be relevant, such as supplier integration, quality, strategic management, maintenance, human resource management, and environmental management.
For process categorization, we have the process triangle. The process triangle is used to help differentiate the type and importance of the various processes within a company and to identify which processes need to be redeveloped categories. These can be used to help identify those particular processes that are in need to be highlighted for specific development.
The 3 process categorization are as follows. First, basic processes. These are processes that are not really recognized as essential to a business but are nevertheless a prerequisite. Second, benchmark processes. These are processes that are seen to be important to the customer and must be of at least an acceptable standard even to begin to compete satisfactorily in a given market. Lastly, competitive processes. These are processes that are of direct significance to the competitive arena. Good practice and excellence in these processes will provide a competitive edge and ensure that the company is active and successful through its logistics operations.
It would be difficult for any company to develop a suitable process to cover all possible contingencies. Thus, it is useful to understand some of the main methods of differentiating between the various factors that are fundamental to most logistics operations. Processes can then be developed to suit different requirements.
Typical differentiating factors will include market segmentation. There may be different requirements for different sectors such as engineering, automotive, chemicals, etc. Customer types. These may vary between, for example, industrial and consumer, or international, national, and local. Product groups. These may be broken down according to a variety of categories dependent on the industry, such as household, industrial, consumer, or hardware, software, spares, etc. Customer service requirements. These may vary between same day, next day, normal, special, etc. Order type. These could be made to order, off the shelf, postponement, or partial production. And lastly, channel type. This could be direct, via depot, or via wholesaler.
For our approach, a broad approach to process design is suggested.
The first step is to identify the key processes for design or redesign.
This can be undertaken in a variety of different ways, but it is important that representatives of all the main functions from within the company are included in the team that identifies these key processes. The next stage is to map out the main elements of each process that is to be redesigned. The objective is to identify the key steps in each process and clarify which departments and people are involved. After the initial mapping stage is completed, the next step is to undertake a much more detailed flow mapping exercise. Here, the workflow is identified in detail as it progresses through each relevant department. Each crucial part of the process is identified together with a specified amount of time taken to complete each of these parts. Once the detailed flow mapping has been completed, any opportunities for improvement can be identified. It should identify and measure the effects of any feasible solutions and then get overall agreement for any changes it feels should be put into practice. Once agreement for change has been reached, the final stage is to implement any change. This may be undertaken on a pilot basis at first to test the effectiveness of the redesigned process. Subsequently, measures should be put in place to monitor the process continually into the future. There are a number of different tools and techniques that can be used to help with logistics process redesign. These ranges from those that provide assistance with the initial categorization of key process objectives to those that offer a detailed assessment of the processes themselves and thus can be used to identify opportunities for improvement. To conclude, the importance of logistic processes is very essential to be understood. The need to move away from functional and towards cross-functional processes development have been highlighted. The main reasons for adopting more streamlined process were also discussed.
The last topic to be discussed is on supply chain segmentation. I am Delao, the last presenter for this group.
Supply chain segmentation is a process of dividing the supply chain into distinct and manageable segments. It involves identifying, analyzing, and segmenting the supply chain into distinct markets, channels, and customers groups.
Product segmentations. Product characteristics are often important for supply chain segmentation. Examples are size, hazard, bulk, value, contaminations, preferable goods, temperature time, and variety.
Demand and supply segmentation. Demand is only one side of the supply chain. The nature of supply also needs to be taken into account. An important factor on the supply side is the length of the supplier lead time from the time of placing orders on the supplier up to the time of physically receiving the goods. Marketing segmentation. Segmentation has been adopted in marketing for many decades. It is used for demand creation purposes, and it has long been recognized that different classification of customers require different marketing approaches. There are many categorizations of marketing segments, but one such classification is as follows. Geographic, the locations of the customer. Demographic, populations are often broken down into categories according to such factors as age, gender, income, home or car ownership, employment, and ethnic origin. Psychographic, this form of segmentations is concerned with the interests, activities, and opinions of customers and is often related to lifestyle. Firmographic, in the case of industrial customers, a common form of segmentations is by such factors as turnover, number of employees, and industry sector. And lastly, behavioristic. This relates to how consumers behave in terms of, for example, how frequently they buy certain products and whether they remain loyal to particular brands. Behavioristic segments may also be very important for supply chain design. Its four common categories are collaborative, efficient, demanding, and innovative. Implementation. Supply chain segmentations can therefore be very complex as there is a wide range of factors that could be used as basis for segmentation. It is therefore important to choose the segmentation frameworks that are relevant to the particular product, supply, demand, and buying characteristics experience. There are a number of different elements involved in designing a supply chain, such as sourcing, distribution network, transport modes.
To conclude, we have learned the different types of issues that a company may encounter in terms of their logistics management. We have also identified the different methods and the different processes that can be used in order to mitigate these issues.
That ends our presentation. Thank you for your time.